asked God for help, and He told me no because He was trying to teach me how to depend on Him. Hey, y'all, it's tax day. I hope y'all all right out here in these streets, is what I hope. But yes, I said it. I asked God for some help, and He told me no because He was trying to teach me how to depend on Him. Because notice what I said. I didn't ask Him for help. I just asked for some help. I just asked for some help. Welcome to Tea and Truth with Karen Booth. I'm the baggage handler. And today, we're talking about trusting God instead of controlling outcomes. Yep, Janet Jackson got y'all out here looking bad. You know, I'm in control. Call me Janet, Miss Jackson, whatever. She got y'all out here bad in these control streets. Wonderful Wednesday to you too, Michelle. I'm going to share part of this with you. I can't share everything that has happened. Like this literally just happened. Like so much has been happening in the past week to 10 days. It's been amazing. It has been amazing. It has been amazing what God has shown me that through forgiveness, through walking through learning how to trust Him, through walking through Him showing me how to depend on Him. And once my heart posture got situated correctly, how He's able to take me to the thing and get me to the thing that I want. To get me to the thing that I want. But it not be the way that I orchestrated it out in my mind. Because when I orchestrated it out in my mind, my plan was based on me being my own source. My plan was based on me being in a state of self-protection, in a state of not trying to be vulnerable, in a state of needing to know everything, because I was still operating out of survival. I was still operating out of a place of pain. I was still operating with the wrong heart posture as a believer. So, back in January 2025, God was, God told me, oh God, I got water today because I'm just a little bit different. God told me He was going to teach me how to depend on Him. Now, honestly, at that point, I was tired. I was working hard. I had retired from a job. I had gotten another job. I was working hard. I wasn't appreciated the way that I should have been. I was overworked. I was underpaid. I was frustrated. I was burnout. I was trying to figure out how to do some things. I was trying to figure out how to do some things so that I could change some things. And I was trying to come up with a way to both relieve myself of the frustration and still be financially okay. Also during this time, my husband was in school full time. Because of the intensity of the program and how they have the classes situated, you really can't work in that particular program. You can't work full time and do that. So, so everything was. Hey, Salisa. Hey, Rumi. Everything felt like at that point. Everything felt like it was on me, right? I was at a convention and I was journaling. I was having my nightly discussion with the Lord, and baby, and that's it. That's so interesting because I was trying to control everything. I was seeing myself as the source, yet I was still journaling to the Lord. That's how we do. That's how we do. We love the Lord. He heard our cry. We cry, and then we go try to figure it out. But okay, so that's how. So that's where I was, right? And I wrote in my journal. I said, why can't my husband help me? Why? Why? And his response, just as clear as day, was Stephen is doing the needful thing. He is on my time schedule. I closed that journal. I said, I'm done talking to you tonight, Lord. Good night. Put the journal down, put the covers on my head, lay down with sleep. Man, okay. Gets up the next day. Getting ready to go to the first session of the conference that I was participating in. I go to the bathroom, and it's so crazy because the person that I was rooming with never gets ready first. But this particular day, the person got ready first. So I was in the room all by myself. And so God says to me, now mind you, I went to bed and said, Lord, I'm not talking to you now because I'm tired and I'm frustrated, I'm mad, and you did not answer the question the way that I got an itis. It is. You did not answer the question the way I wanted you to answer it, Lord, like he's supposed to do what I say. But anyway, I digress. And so he says to me, uninvited, he said, if I let Stephen help you right now, you'll never learn how to depend on me. Baby, I sat down and started crying right there. All my edges were snatched because I had stopped depending on people. I had been through enough in life at the hands of people. I had enough of people, especially God's people. Oh, I had enough of people. I had enough of people. I was like, yeah, I'm going to fix all this. Welcome to Karen Land. And so I sat down and I started crying. And the Lord was like, so Karen, this is what's gonna happen. And at this point, I'm pouring out because I'm tired. I ain't got no more. I had gave it all. I ain't got no more. That's why I was asking, that's why I was in my journal, crying out to the Lord, talking about I need some help. And then why you and all that. I'm sure we have all been there. And so I'm sitting there and it was at the point where I was just like, I ain't got nothing no more. And I'm just gonna, put all my stuff in a pillowcase and tie it to a stick and go catch a boxcar train somewhere. And so he then tells me, if that explains where I was in my emotions at that time. And so he says, Karen, yes, sir. He says, Karen, I'm going to teach you how to depend on it. Now he didn't say it, man. He did not. It was like I know when the Lord talks. So Lisa said, and I know when the Lord talks to me strong, and I know when the Lord talks to me tender. And so he was being Abba at that moment. And he was like, Karen, yes, sir. I'm gonna teach you how to depend on me, okay? Well, I didn't have no more wherewithal to say nothing else but okay. And so that began a whole year for me of things happening that I did not like and things happening that I did like, and him working me through the things that I didn't like. And then him saying, because even that weekend at that conference, some things happened. And every time something happened, hey, Nisi Poo, every time something happened that I was like, oh, that's great. Or I didn't know how that was gonna work. He was like, you see how I took care of you right then? Oh, that was you. And it's like, dang, Karen, it wasn't you. It was not. Right? just random things, just random. Baby, he will let us hit rock bottom at the end of the rope. And we ain't got no more rope to tie them knot to it. We right, Talisa. And so it would be, at first it was little things. And then, I was trying to be a part of some things, and he would make a way. And and something would happen. And then he would make a way. And what I didn't know then, that of course he knew, was that I needed to depend on God, because he knew something devastating was going to happen that year. That if I didn't depend on him, then I was going to be real thrown off for the rest of my life, because he knew in January of 2025 that my daddy was going to be ready to leave here in October of 2025. Honest to God. And when my daddy left here, I had dreaded that day all my life, because I had depended so on my daddy being there. And when I tell you my daddy left here, and yes, I did grieve, and yes, I did grieve hard. And some days I still do grieve. But when I tell you he put people in the right places at the right times to pull me out of spaces, not to stop me from grieving, not to stop me from the emotion of grief, but to save me from the spirit of grief. Right? And so he knew that I needed him for that. Now, moving on to something a little lighter, but still looking at releasing control. Because unforgiveness, there's a measure of control involved when you don't forgive. There's a measure of, I'm going to control all the outcomes. I'm going to protect myself at all costs. There's a measure of control that you develop about your life, that you just kind of edge God right on out of the process of making decisions and being the provider. You edge him out of being Jehovah Jireh. Okay? So recently I got notified about an event that was happening. Now I wasn't gonna go. I was not gonna. I was like, okay, this would normally have been, if Karen's in control, this would normally have been something that I just was like, oh, that looked nice. Yeah, no, I'm not gonna go. But because of the way it popped up, I said I should probably go today. So I registered for the little event. It's not little. I registered for the event. And I wake up and, put on, and the Lord's like, yeah, put this on. Well, okay. I put it on. I was like, oh, that's cute. So I put it on. And I go, because there's some information being provided at the event. And I go to the event, and the information that is given is good, but it wasn't about the event. It was about making a connection that I needed, that I needed, right? In the moment at the event, God positioned me in front of someone who has access, knowledge, and insight to help me grow in some spaces that I said, I need XYZ to help me in this space. I didn't know where I was going to get it from. I didn't know how I was going to get it. I didn't know anything about that. All I know was on my phone pops up, hey, this is happening on this day. And it's free. And so I sign up and I get the information from the lecture and find out that, you know, there's a person there who does something that I need. In control, Karen, in control, Karen would have never gone to the event. And the thing that that in control Karen needed to be done, she was gonna try to figure out how to do it all by herself because she's smart and she likes to control all the outcomes. She's still smart. She just has dropped a whole lot of pressure because she ain't got to control all the outcomes. So I have a connection with a person who has the skills I need to help me further grow in the space that I need to grow. And when I tell you it's something that's going to impact my ability to produce income, see, it's not just knowledge for knowledge's sake. It's God putting you in the right rooms. It's God putting you in the right spaces. It's God putting you with the right people. It's God putting you at the right time. Because I met several other people at said event that, I could have relationship with potentially, or they could be potential clients, or I could be a client of theirs. But it's all about, who God wants you to be in connection with. But you can't reap the benefits of the knowledge of God because He's omniscient. You can't reap the benefits of the knowledge of God if you down here knowing everything, which I was, because I wasn't depending on Him. So the Bible tells us in Proverbs 3:5-6 to trust in the Lord with all our heart and lean not to our own understanding. That means that there are going to be moments where God's going to tell us some stuff that don't make sense. Control says, I need this to work a certain way. Trust says, God, I'm going to follow you even when I don't understand. And that is what I learned. It only took me a year and some months. I mean, y'all don't let it take that long for y'all. That's why I'm out here in these streets. Don't don't let it take that long for y'all to learn that trusting God is a safe space. Now, does it sometimes feel like a roller coaster ride? Oh my God, yes, it absolutely does. It absolutely does. The trusting God looks like you you got released from a job that you wanted to leave, but you didn't have the plan hadn't been fulfilled for you to leave the job safely in your mind. But now you just gone from the job and now you out here. Hey Celeste, congratulations. I saw a reel one day. This woman was in her car and she was had her head down and she was doing this, she was doing it, and she was just crying. You could tell she was just crying. And the caption on the reel said, "Sometimes trusting God looks like this." You in your car and you beating your seat and you crying. And Lord, what is she doing? Because Lord, you know that we need this money I make, but yet and still find myself without said job that I have and that I had. So if God had answered my request the way I wanted him to, and I'm talking about the request when I was over there writing in my journal talking about why can't Steven help me? All Stephen would have been able to do was go to work. Meanwhile, God is teaching me a life skill that helps me to build my kingdom life in the way that God would have it and provide for me out of the abundance of his riches instead of the limitation of Stephen's job. That'll preach right there. I'm not a preacher. But if somebody wants to take that and preach it, that's fine. Because I was asking for help. And God told me no, because God was building dependence and not dependence on my help, dependence on him. And so if you fight this process, then guess what you get? More frustration. But if you lean into it, you start to see him move in ways that you could not have planned. That's what it means to know him as Abba. Because my daddy is in heaven. And my Abba Father is in heaven too. So I get to know God, not just as God, not just provide, but Father. And I know there are people out there with father issues, and that's why he says he is our Father. I remember one time, I remember one time, um, my father had he had very strong opinions about things, and he was very adamant that you know I needed to be A1, top of the line, you know, super achiever all the time. And so it put me in this space of always thinking that I needed to be perfect. And and so a lot of times God would ask me to do stuff, and I would be hesitant because I was pretty sure that it wasn't going to be perfect, right? And so I would just be dragging my feet and procrastinating and stuff like that. And so one day, God told me, and this was way before Daddy died, way before Daddy died. And so I was in that mindset that, Daddy said, you gotta be twice as good to be considered half as good, and all the things that you learn growing up in the South and being melanated. And so one day I was struggling with this. Yeah, God, I don't want to do that because it's not going to turn out right, blah, blah, blah. And I don't want to be all the things. And one day God said, untangle me from your daddy. I said, what? God said, untangle me from your daddy. I'm not like your dad. What? I had made my image of God, Abba God, match the image that I grew up with my earthly father. My earthly father was raising me based on the things that he had learned growing up and the struggles that he had growing up. And he was trying to make sure that I was successful and I could thrive no matter what anybody tried to stop me from doing. Right? That's a lot of pressure. God says, untangle me from your father. I'm different than that. Right? And so it took me a minute to kind of process through those things. And I'm saying that for anybody who's watching who may have some father issues, untangle God from your father. Whether you had a good daddy, whether you had a bad daddy, whether your daddy wasn't there. Untangle them. You got them all jammed up. Untangle them and learn of God on his own merit. He's the kind of father you can trust. He's the kind of father who knows what you need, even when you're asking for something else. Because, yes, he told me no. Stephen couldn't help me. He told me no. You don't have to control everything. You don't have to force outcomes. You don't have to figure it out. Because when you trust Abba God, he will position you, he will connect you, and provide for you in ways that don't even make sense. You don't need to make it happen. You trust the one who already has. Again, I asked God for help, and he told me no because he was teaching me how to depend on him. All right, y'all. That's it. That's that. That is the tea from Karen B today. Y'all have a good day. That's all I got. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Same freedom time, same freedom channel, 4:30 for the tomorrows. What? Wait. Why we ouching, Celeste? Why is we ouching? Do you need to message me? Woo! Was that good for y'all? If it was pretty good for y'all, put a 3 in the comments. Put a 3 in the comments. To the Mighty Replay crew, I thank you for watching. Yeah. Y'all have Y'all have a good evening. I think I need to go lay down behind it. I wasn't expecting to say that part at all. That part wasn't even on my notes. My God. Phew. All right. Y'all have a good day. See y'all tomorrow.